Hello friends, welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading Channel Weekend Edition. If this is the first time you're visiting our channel, we want to extend to you a very warm welcome and invite you to watch any of our over 560 videos arranged for your convenience in playlists, as we are confident you're going to find something both interesting and educational to watch. If you have been here before, welcome back. If today is your birthday, happy birthday. So today we're going to show you another fun project, in my opinion, that will enhance your living space, especially if you have a small living space, right? Living in an apartment or living in a small house. And use minimal material. Again, the material is still expensive. Prices start coming down, but wood is very expensive. And we're going to build what we're going to call it a wall-mounted desk, secretary-style desk. Elpida is planning to purchase a new computer after, I don't know, 15 years of having an old computer. And she would like to have it both protected, and that's the purpose of the desk closing, right? The secretary type of desk. And also have it used with ease without messing up your small space, which is an apartment, right? For that material, therefore, we decided to go with plywood for part of it and dimensional lumber. In both cases, we went with the least expensive options we found, right? And the reason for that was to keep the cost down. Even though our cost is under $100 for this build, and you could not buy one for even close to that, they're $700 wherever we looked for them. We still wanted to minimize cost because wood is very expensive these days. So you can increase this by, what do you think, maybe to the next level, and still be under $100, like buy more expensive ply and better grade wood?
It'll kind of depend. It'll be close to 100.
So we're well under 100 in what we're doing.
At least for our area.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and show you everything we're doing, and we are doing a very interesting finish for this project. At least we think we are. And it's going to be a combination of Suzuki Bank and white wash paint, but it's not white, so what we're going to call it? Green wash paint?
Muted, yeah, color washed.
So we're excited about that. We've never done that before, so hopefully we're not going to eat our words here, but that's what the plan is. So stick around. We're going to show you, as always, everything we do, along with tips and tricks and things that we do to make our life easier, because as you know, with a small shop, we don't have everything we need necessarily, but we have enough to build the project.
Yep. All right, here we go.
That was an interesting technique.
Well, it is. We used to turn it around, but I think this it gave us a cleaner cut.
Yeah, it does. It actually gave us a much cleaner cut. We don't have that little overlap that we sometimes get by trying to flip it around.
I mean, you just need to be careful.
Yeah.
This is not the safest thing to do, but it is.
Yeah.
It is a much cleaner cut, I think.
Yeah, of course. I just hadn't seen you do it before, so I thought I'd remark on it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen it.
So that's our first board at 36. We're going to cut another one at 36, and then two at 22.5.
And of course, we're going to use the first board as our
guide for the 36.
Because every time you measure, you risk a measuring error.
Right.
And we don't want that. So.
Right. Okay, so we'll cut those 4 boards, and then we will come back with the next step.
So our design overall will resemble that of a secretary desk, but it will be attached to the wall, right? It will not be movable.
Right.
So this will be the hardest cut we have to do in this project, and it is an angle straight cut. Does it make sense?
Right.
So it's a straight cut, but it's at an angle. Now there are a couple of ways you can achieve that. You can freehand it on the table saw, or you can set a jig on the table saw to do it.
You can use a jigsaw.
You can use a jigsaw. It will not be ideal. You'll have to do a lot of sanding after that, but if that's all you have, definitely a jigsaw will do it. We have put them together to make the cut at the same time, so it won't cut twice.
Right, to try to minimize the difference in boards.
Right. And the other thing, you can use a track saw, which I think is where we're leaning towards right now. Now, many people don't have a track saw. That's why I want to give options, right? We happen to have one we think is a good option for this. right?
Yeah, because it's a straight cut and all we have to do is align the track and the blade with that, and it should go right through.
Where in any other saw, this will be a more
Right.
complex setup.
And it's really cool because you can adjust the depth of your blade.
So you can do it, I guess, in more than one ways, but we're going to set up, we're going to try our track saw, and if we mess up, hopefully we have enough wood to do more, okay?
To do some more, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's set up. So we did finish our cut, and it went actually pretty nicely, and gave us those nice little wedges, which I'm sure I find something to do with,
Yeah.
because I really like them.
And so this is a really nice, clean cut.
And part of our decision making, this piece of wood has some damage to it.
Uh-huh.
We knew when we bought it, but we knew we were going to probably be able to cut it off.
Right.
So we got rid of the part that is damaged, which worked great for us. And this gave us a very nice cut. And because we cut both at the same time, we know the angle is identical.
They're identical, right.
You don't have to worry about it.
And so you can make this however you want to. For my purposes, we're making this for me. This was an 8-foot dimensional board, or 8-inch dimensional board, which means it measured out at 7 1/4. And then I made the shorter end at 5. So that's just the slight angle that it's gonna have.
And we probably need to mention, you can do that generically. We built it because we plan to get an iMac M1 in it. So the dimensions we're using are really for that machine.
Right.
But you can make one of those generic. It can be even a secretary desk. It doesn't have to be a computer desk, right?
And it could be slightly smaller. I'm just making it a little bit larger to accommodate a little bit of storage and that sort of thing for my own purposes.
And again, this is the hardest cut of the whole project.
We do have one more rip cut to do, but yeah, this was the hardest one. And you can see right here a little bit, you can just see the edge of the line that I marked, but I don't think we could have done better because this was just about perfect with the track saw.
And that's the strength of the track saw, right?
Yeah, it did a great cut.
All right. So we will set up for the next step and we'll be right with you. Right now we need to rip one of our wide pieces to the dimension of the top, right? The bottom is the correct dimension because it's one of the pieces, right? So
right.
we didn't have a problem though, but the top needs to be ripped. So this is the piece we decided to rip. And because, as you know, we don't like measuring because it introduces error, we're using the board itself, the sides if you will, and we're setting it, we already did it, we're just showing you,
Right.
So this is going to be a nice tight cut.
So this is just showing you where the blade is matching up to there, and we've got the fence set to the other side so that this board, when we rip it, will match that top exactly.
So we're going to do that and we'll be right back. And here is our first dry fit, and it does look exactly as we expected. Our cuts are good, right? I mean, we are pleased. Again, we don't have an assembly table, so this is not ideal, but it gives us an idea of how it will work, right?
Right, and this looks like it's a little bit off, but it actually is not. It's just because of how we have to kind of angle it there, and then this one matches up really well. The cuts are very nice.
What we're looking at now is the table saw will be the wall, right?
Yes.
To get an orientation of what we're trying to achieve here.
So, it'd be on the wall like that.
And you get the sense of the overall size of the thing, right?
Yeah.
And we decided we're going to go with pocket screws for the connections. However, you can do different things, right? It is not necessary you do pocket screws.
Right.
Another solution would be screws. You can even use metal framing.
Brackets and
things
anything
like that. If you want to have a more industrial look or more... I think this is pretty modern, but
Yeah, I want it to look a little more modern and clean.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next step. Stick around. And again, we got the correct jig out. We are going to use pocket screws for this as well, right? So we're going to make 3 pockets in the bottom and 2 in the top.
And again, this is because the bottom is wider than the top. And
really the top, we could only use one because all the weight will be, the pocket screw will do nothing, right? Other than close the joint. But I think 3 and 2 is the correct way. We're going to reinforce that from the bottom too, because all the weight, if you want to point here, all the weight will be on that piece, right? And it will pushing down away from the pocket screws, which is not ideal.
Right.
So we'll show you our solution to that problem.
Okay.
So now we're going to
line that up.
You want it there or there? Closer to the edge or not close to the edge?
Probably the middle one.
I wasn't even backwards.
Excellent.
And this is approximate, of course. You don't have to be precise, but we're going for approximately the middle. And then on the other side, and that will be
Right.
plenty for us, right?
You want to line up the other edge, or no?
What do you mean?
I was just thinking, since this edge was lined up, do you want to line up this edge?
No, because first of all, this is
Okay, because it's at an angle.
right.
Okay.
And I think I'll put it there. It will be perfect.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to turn it over again. The only mistake you can make sure you rotate it. You don't
Yes.
switch it around, right?
Right. So you want to make sure that the holes are facing you, and that you're also going to put the holes on the same side of the board.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, and then we'll do the other board as well, and
And
come
we'll be
back.
right back. So we finished our pocket holes, and before we go to assembly, we are thinking about the finish because Elpida wants to have a dual finish on this piece. So part of the piece will be Suzuki band, and the other part will be a stain wash, right?
If it works.
If
Yes.
it works, yeah. We're going to experiment. Because we're going to Suzuki bank this, a couple of points to pay attention is this area here has very little wood and will be prone to really light up in fire and destroy this connection, right? So whenever you do that, you need to be very careful here. Don't stay too long in this area.
Right. And-
Other than that, I think it's just a decision of how you want it. If you want to Suzuki bank everything, if you want to, and have you decided yet, or you're going to be thinking as you're doing it?
I think I want to try to experiment to see if the other finish is going to work the way I want before I make that final
Okay.
decision. So we've got to do that first.
All right. And it's always cool how that works.
And one time you asked me if it was like painting, and I see now what you mean. It's more like a spray painting, like with a spray gun.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to finish this process and we'll get back with you.
Okay.
So I've finished burning the one piece, done it as dark as I thought I wanted it, and now I am using this soft bristled brush to drop on the ground to brush off the char, because there is a lot, because I did a pretty deep burn.
And it makes it almost a caramelly.
Yeah, I love it because it actually ends
Color.
up a kind of a velvety
Yeah.
sort of finish. Real nice. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. But you want to try to get as much of this off. And the other cool thing is, unless you're really, really wanting a lot of shine, which I don't, for this piece, this part of it at least, this is the finish. You don't have to do any poly or anything, because this is what protects the wood.
Does get your hands dirty, but it
Well,
is definitely worth it.
It's everything dirty. So let me grab a cloth real quick. And you can see, even brushing a bunch of that off, it comes off on the cloth a lot. And you might have to do this a couple times. But just to get us going here, I'm just going to wipe this off. And again, to me, this ends up looking almost velvety with the sheen. And this is just the natural finish that comes out, and I love that.
Yep.
So now let's take a look at our sample, what we're talking about. So the idea is that this would be the desk that flips down, and this of course is going to be one of the sides. This would not be the final finish. This would actually be just the color, and then I would put a poly on it to kind of bring out the sheen and protect it as a desktop.
I think the color goes really nicely. The color you chose with the dark wood. It's a nice contrast.
Yeah, I think I'm going to like it that way. I think I do. Yeah. So I'll get back to burning the remainder of the pieces, and then we'll have to cut down the desktop and
There she goes. Woo!
a lot of sap in these knots, but they're very interesting to burn. kind of see where I've hit a little bit, where I haven't. I want a little bit of a shiny. You can see that char on it.
Yeah, it helps you see any spots that are less
Burned. And again, you can see I'm wearing the really heavy gloves because this does get quite hot. Obviously, you're burning wood.
You mean burning wood gets hot?
Very hot. Like hot glue is hot. Yeah.
That's something you should know.
You should know if you're going to do this.
That knot is right on the edge there. That makes it very interesting. The color bleeds over to the side. And this tree grew this way just for us.
Yes, it did.
We like using pine. We use pine more often for our projects because, well, it's usually cheaper than other types of wood, but also it has such beautiful grain that it's dramatic, and the knot holes, or the knots that are intact, they have such interesting shapes and effect on your piece.
Quite as much up here. And if you get into it, you can experiment with different types of wood. They all burn a little bit differently. The way the green comes out or doesn't. I burned a teak bowl once, which actually came out looking super dark, and it kind of kept burning even after I was finished. Just deepening the color, so it ended up looking almost like ebony wood, very black. But it was a very interesting project.
Again, our lack of having a assemble table,
Assembly table.
it's kind of causing us a little bit of headache here, but I don't think that will work out. We can use the red clamps if you want.
Let's use those.
I thought that clamp would work.
The answer is no, but it does not.
Only it should. Only when you're alone.
But we have found that these red ones work really well, so it's all good. The board is a little cupped here.
The heat, it wasn't capped before.
It was slightly, but the heat might have kept it somewhere.
Yeah. That is one of the small dangers of Suzuki bond.
Yeah.
But hopefully the screws can fix it. So,
So this first one is now aligned.
alright.
You've got a brand new bit.
Do you have I didn't use it. Okay,
And we bought it.
I'm aware.
Okay.
Alright.
So then,
Do you want to align the bottom one or it's aligned?
it's actually pretty well aligned.
Okay, then just hold it so I can put pressure to it. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do the middle. Do you need to adjust anything in the middle?
It's wobbly. I mean, there's a,
What do you mean?
come look at it, it's got an outward cut here. It's
Right.
not lined up. So this cuts out. I don't know if there's a way we can.
we can try to put a clamp all the way across there. Right? What do you want to say about that?
Well, that we're using the clamp because this board, once we burned it, had a little bit of a cup on the outside, so we're using a clamp to pull it in to align it a little bit better with
Here.
the edge of the board. It's still
So
not perfect, but
put
it's
it-
better.
Over the area that was cupped out, yes. And to kind of push it into alignment before we screw it in.
Yeah, and again, not perfect, but better than it was.
Are you ready then?
Yep.
Okay. So if you take this, the clamp off, just stay where it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Good job.
Next side. What's easier to do, that side or the top? Let's do the side.
Yeah, I think we need to do the side. You know what I didn't think? I
What?
probably need to burn our.
What's that number?
Remember this is a,
Yeah, but they will be okay for our purposes. Because all we want is the angle. So again, an assembled table would have made this process much easier than it is right now. But we don't have one, so there.
too much there.
Well, I would say worry about the top, and then we can
Yeah.
attach it, and then we'll worry about the. And you can use the wood mallet too if you need to.
All right, top is good. Where's your mallet? Or actually, let me do the clamp. I think the clamp will.
So here there are two schools of thought. We could have put it together and then Suzuki burn it, but sometimes the corners will not burn correctly.
Yeah, I don't like the way you can see how it's not burned all the way.
But now, because it is not connected, it allows the wood to move and creates a little bit of issues like what we're having. Okay.
But this clamp actually brought it together really well, so it's okay.
Okay, we
That's
just
always-
moved to the last corner now, right?
Yeah. There are always trade-offs you have to make, right? Just make sure that that is flush there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You are the wall.
So
I
here's
am
the
the-
wall. And I'm going to tilt this forward just so you can see that it does have a slight angle to it.
Taper.
Taper. So it'll be against the wall. Ideally the computer will be sitting here and then the drop will come down as the desk. And that is going to be made out of this lovely piece of plywood.
So that would be fine.
That's a perfect, that is perfect fit right there.
Right, you want to mark it on the other side so we can cut it?
Yeah. You want to hold it
Yeah,
there?
yeah. And is it fine here or do you
Yeah.
want it?
I think it's
Okay, whatever you
right there is perfect, as
Okay.
long as you can hold it in place.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Let me go get the pencil. Oh my gosh. Clamps everywhere. Take this down and put it outside so that it's not in our way.
Now we did buy this piece of plywood specifically with that build in mind, right? So again, when you design it, it's a good idea to minimize the amount of cuts you have to do because usually that's where the mistakes happen, right? And if you cut something too short, there isn't much of a redemptive.
Now, you
Ability,
can cut it
yeah.
too long because you can always take more off, but if you're too short, then
Well, if you want to take this off, I will change the blade. Well, I can do that. So the reason we're changing the blades is because our default blade on the saw is a rough cutting blade, which worked very well for what we had to do today, right, so far.
Earlier.
But we are going to cut plywood. Plywood is very sensitive. Is that the right word?
Yep.
And it can chip and do anything else. So we're going to a fine finishing blade with the idea that it will not damage our plywood, right?
And what is the grade or the rating on this? It's
Well, usually it's not a rating, it is
the number of teeth.
number of teeth, right? And I
So
think this
which
is
is
45 and this is 80.
80. Okay.
And it says usually ideal for, and it shows you that it is plywoods, plywoods, laminates, you know. For this is ideal to cut dimensional lumber, and it really does a very good job. Oh, actually it's only 24. So we're going quite a bigger, we're going from 24 teeth to 80 teeth, right? So that should make a big difference, I think.
Yep.
Move the blade and it will click. Are you sure?
Yep. Toward me.
So here you don't need to go crazy. In fact, the rotation of the blade is tightening this nut, right? It's a safety design. With our blade correctly set now, we're going to lower it because it's just plywood that we need to cut. It is not, we don't need it that high. And we're going to make our cut. And I don't know if we'll be able to record it. We might need all of us to handle this plywood piece, but we'll be right back. It's a very nice cut, actually. Huh?
I was like, that's a nice cut.
What's the difference? What is that? So, we're getting ready to start the last part of the finishing, and we wanted to talk to you about a couple of ticks.
Ticks.
Ticks. A couple of yes, tips.
Trips and ticks.
One of them is this plastic razor, which is an absolutely great way to remove stickers from wood without marring. Now, Elpida used it, I didn't use it, but what was your take on this?
It worked really well. It removed all of the paper part of it. What it doesn't remove is the sticky part, but we found another thing that does.
So, the first thing you could have done is, of course, cut the piece in a way that doesn't have a sticker. We didn't do that.
But if you overlooked that like we did.
Well, or if you needed to use the whole piece and you couldn't cut any of it off.
That too.
So this is a non-marring. It is designed actually to remove stickers from wood. It is a really great deal, and maybe we'll do a Wednesday episode on that. This is a really cool tool. And we use mineral spirits to remove the glue. Now, mineral spirits work very well, and all we have to do now is just do the other surface first while it is drying. It might already be dry, actually.
No, it's just finishing up drying here, but there is absolutely no stickiness left here. You can just see that this area is a little bit darker as the mineral spirits continues to dry, so we'll just use the other side first. Finish the other side first as it finishes up.
And that will be the end of this part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So Elpida will start the finishing.
Start the finishing.
And we'll be right back. And this is a new process for us, right?
Yes.
And it is really, we're not following, we're not using the right stuff, I should say, right? The right stain. There are colored stains these days that you can do this with, and we're just using paint, right?
Yeah. Primarily because the hardware store irritated me this morning, and they didn't have the right kind of base for tinting that I wanted.
And also the stains are much more expensive than the paint is.
Yeah, so the stain was like $12. The one I wanted was about $12 for a pint or whatever, quart. And this sample ended up costing me like little over $3.
And like usually, we don't like using brushes on most things. Paper towels, we feel do a better job, right? And this is a patient process, so something that I cannot do. I don't believe in patience.
Watch us do it.
Well, I'm actually going to let you do it and go and do other things.
Okay.
As you can see, this process is very economical. We have used very little of the, is that paint or stain?
Paint.
We have used very little of the paint, and we are almost done with the one side, right? Also, we need to point out here, we chose as an architectural detail not to edge the piece of plywood, right? But it is an option you have, right? You can edge it if you want to. We decided not to. We liked the visibility of the plies. We think it gives it a little more character. But definitely, although that's the advantage of a DIY, you do the piece the way you want it, right? You don't have to.
So this is the first side we did. It is dry. We relocated ourselves so we can have the fan blowing on us because it is quite humid here today, even though the temperature's not too high. This is our second side that we've done. Now just waiting for it to dry, and then we'll get going with the polyurethane to give it that clear finish.
So what did you say that this color reminds you of?
Oh, the Caribbean Sea, which is quite lovely.
It is gorgeous. Okay. Now we are beginning our final stage of the finish process, which is our poly. It's going to give it a really glossy, beautiful, almost crystal clear Caribbean Sea color.
Yes. I'm really liking this, the way it's popping out. Is it showing nice on camera how shiny it is versus the flat?
It is, yes.
Nice.
And you'll want to make sure that wherever you're using this, it's very well ventilated. We happen to be in the shop with the doors open. There's a nice breeze and a fan. Yep. It's really strong. Let's see if I can get a different angle. Yeah, as I'm moving, I see a reflection, the light. Lovely. It goes from being worn out to being really special.
And initially, you might have thought this is a little bit variegated. All the colors are kind of, not as dark in some areas, lighter in other areas. For me, that again is reminiscent of how the sea can vary in color.
It all depends on your taste and what you want it to look like.
Absolutely.
All kinds of different ways to finish this. And we did pick a plywood that has a lot of nice grain, so it is more likely to show up in the finish versus something that's a little bit more standardized throughout. You can see we're just about done putting the first side of poly on. And you can really see the reflection from the light above, glistening. And then make sure to get all the edges so that it seals it up. And why did you want to put a poly finish on this piece?
Because this will be the desktop, and so I want it to be protected. It'll be used a lot. Plus, obviously, it gives it a very nice sheen, and brings out that color even better.
Yep.
It needs to be.
I am holding it tight. I think you need to cut that extra little, you see where you got into the next groove?
Okay.
Cut that one.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. Okay. So the reason we cut all these was because the screws are just a little bit too long for the top and it would penetrate out, so we wanted them to be short enough to grab the hinge and grab the wood, but not go out the next.
And if we had decided to use thicker wood, then we would not necessarily have had to shorten the screws.
Right. But this is us being creative, modifying what we have.
Yep.
Okay. So now we're just working on deciding where we want our hinges.
Right.
And we decided to go with the more traditional looking hinges versus the piano hinge.
Yeah.
This is strictly a matter of personal taste. There's not a better or worst option.
So we're going to attach them to the desktop, and this is the inner
This is
surface.
The inside, yeah.
Yep.
And this is the part that will be worked on once you fold it down.
Right.
And
You ready?
since we cut the screws off, we are doing some pilot holes to help them.
Well, the screws have no point right now. So
Okay, so I just want to verify with you, is this the correct placement? I have it at the correct distance, but is it the correct placement?
yeah, as long as this is 90 degrees, right? That's what you want. You want
Yeah.
that is 90 degrees. Okay.
Okay. And again, we've only got a 1/2 inch top, so you don't want to go very far.
If you want to grab the air to
Oh, the
get the
air.
air away from here. And inside them. That actually you can hook it there.
Yeah, I just couldn't get it to go before.
You probably won't be able to start it, just put it on the hand there. You cannot start it because there is no point.
I'll blow that again.
Now, for some reason this was to come off, you can go with small bolts, and you will be able to see them on the other side, but it will be secure, right?
Just gonna double check and make sure this is still at 4.5.
We're now using the hardware that came with it. That's what we are doing this adjustment.
There we go. Okay. Going all over here.
Please move.
A little bit, but I think it's alright. Actually, this one's alright, but that one seems like it's not.
It will, that should work. Again, you cannot start those. Alright, so we have attached the hinges, and here is our opening desk, and here are the hinges we chose. Again, for reference, these would also work. It is a matter of personal reference, right? Preference. So we went with this, and we also, and here we are positioned behind it now, and you can see it closing. Now this is something you will never see, but this is how it is when you close, and we have very nice connections here.
Yep.
We do have a lip on the top, and that's intentional for us to be able to open it and close it without a handle, because the PIDA didn't want a handle. Now you might want a smaller lip. Again, that's a personal thing, right? I mean,
And we're looking at it from the inside out.
So this would
Yeah.
technically be the wall.
so this is an area you will never see. We just want to show you the mechanism. Okay, let's open. So the next question is how you attach this to the wall. I am the wall, right?
You are the wall.
And there are a couple of different ways you can do it. One way is to put a couple of pocket holes, right? And use the pocket holes to attach it to the wall. Another one is to use cleats, like this one. Cut it to the correct dimension. And in this case, if LP that chooses that way, Suzuki band it to match the rest of it. And then run screws, again this is like a cabinet now, we're behind it, right?
Right.
Run screws from the face to hold it to your wall.
And that cleat would be attached with pocket hole screws.
Right.
Top and bottom or just bottom?
You only need one because it's not going to be very heavy, but you can put two if you so choose.
Yeah.
I don't think we need two, to be honest, but it's totally up to LP actually.
Okay.
And if you want a little bit of more strength, you can actually put a couple of pocket screws here to kind of tighten it to the wall, if you so choose. Alternatively, if you have a wood wall or plywood or something like a more solid wall, then pocket holes will be plenty to do this without anything else. We'll be right back. So here we are. This is the final product. We did not have the correct hardware that we need to actually, we're going to put struts here, but we bought the wrong struts. We bought supporting struts versus pulling struts. I don't know if that makes any sense. So we need to do that, but you don't have to have the struts. That was a personal, right? You can leave it the way it is. You can put a small chain. I mean, there are a million of different things that you can do to make this work, but in essence the build is at this moment complete. We hope you enjoyed this short episode. I think it was short, I don't know. And if we did, we'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other pattern works as well. Share, like, subscribe, and let us know what else you would like to see in our channel. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, Elpida and Durban Homesteading channel, stay safe, wash your hands, put your masks on, get vaccinated. We're going to see you soon. Farewell, friends.